Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening.
Ethan Kane boarded the interstellar spacecraft with a mix of trepidation and excitement. As he navigated through the narrow corridors, the scent of recycled air and metal became increasingly prominent, a sharp reminder of the vast distance from anything familiar. "Dr. Kane, I presume," a voice echoed down the hallway. Turning, Ethan was met by Captain Marcus Leary, the mission commander, whose firm handshake was both welcoming and assertive. "Yes, that's me. It's good to meet you, Captain." "Likewise, Doctor. I've heard a lot about your work on xenoarchaeology. The crew's excited to have you on board. This way, please. Let's introduce you to the rest of the team." As they walked, the captain briefed Ethan on the ship's protocols. They passed several crew members who nodded with smiles or focused intently on their tasks. They arrived at the command center, a bustling nerve center with screens displaying star maps and various data. "Team," Captain Leary announced, "meet Dr. Ethan Kane, our guide on the ground when we land on Zoria." A chorus of greetings filled the room, and Ethan met each team member. There was Mia Wong, the biologist, Luca Ramirez, the engineer, and Dr. Sarah Henley, the missions geologist. "Dr. Kane," Mia began with a curious tone, "what do you think is the biggest challenge we'll face on Zoria?" Ethan pondered for a moment. Aside from the unknown elements of alien terrain, it's the isolation. Being light years away from Earth, our only lifeline will be each other. Luca chimed in, "And that's why we've got the best tech to keep us connected and safe, not to mention my brilliant engineering skills." Laughter broke out, easing the underlying tension. Sarah added, "And I'll make sure we know the ground beneath our feet." Zoloria's geology might hold secrets to its past inhabitants, maybe even to the universe. "I'm counting on that," Ethan replied, smiling. "Every piece of data we gather will help us piece together the planet's history." Captain Leary's voice brought the focus back. "All right, team, let's ensure our preparations are seamless. Ethan, you'll start tomorrow with simulations. We need you up to speed on the equipment and emergency procedures." "Understood, Captain. I'm eager to learn and contribute." As the meeting dispersed, Ethan lingered, looking out the viewport at the stars streaking by. This mission was the culmination of years of study and dreams. The unknown lay ahead, and yet, the excitement of discovery was palpable, shared by a team as diverse and eager as he was. "Dr. Kane," Luca approached him with a friendly nudge. "Ever piloted a hovercraft? Tomorrow's your lucky day. We're simulating the Zolorian terrain, and you're in the driver's seat." Ethan laughed. "I look forward to it, Luca. Let's hope it's as thrilling as the real thing will be." With a nod, Ethan turned back to the stars, the guidebook's title echoing in his mind. A Human's Guide to Surviving a Trip to an Alien Planet. Little did he know, the real guide would be the experiences shared and the friendships forged in the vastness of space. As the spacecraft touched down on the silvery sands of Zoria, the cabin was filled with a symphony of mechanical whirs and hisses. Ethan Kane peered out of the viewport, captivated by the vast landscapes bathed in the light of the twin suns. "Welcome to Zoria," Captain Marcus Leary announced over the intercom. "Prepare for disembarkation in T-10 minutes." Ethan gathered his gear, his heart racing with the prospect of stepping onto uncharted territory. Beside him, Luca Ramirez was double-checking his engineering kit. "Can you believe we're actually here?" Luca asked, his voice a mix of nerves and excitement. "It's surreal," Ethan replied. "Feels like stepping into a dream." The hatch slowly opened, revealing the breathtaking vista of Zoloria's horizon. Ethan, Luca, and the rest of the crew, including Dr. Sarah Henley and Mia Wong, descended the ramp, their boots sinking slightly into the fine, silvery sand. "First task, let's set up the perimeter sensors," Captain Leary directed as he coordinated the team's efforts. Luca and Ethan teamed up, working to install the high-tech devices designed to monitor environmental conditions and detect any biological entities. The manual task gave Ethan a moment to feel the alien soil through his gloves, a tangible connection to this strange new world. "Hey Ethan, over here, check this out," Luca called out. Ethan walked over and saw Luca examining a strange, luminescent plant. "It's glowing," Is it photosynthesizing? Possibly, Ethan responded, intrigued. Mia, do you have any insights on this? Mia joined them, her eyes widening with fascination. I need to take samples. This could be a new form of bioluminescence, maybe something symbiotic with Zoloria's atmosphere. As Mia set to work, Ethan and Luca continued with the sensor installation, discussing the potential discoveries awaiting them. You know, back on Earth, I used to hike just to see the sunrise from new peaks, Ethan shared. This is like the ultimate hike, isn't it? Except this peak is on another planet, Luca joked. Makes you wonder what's over those hills. Once the perimeter was secured, Captain Leary gathered the team for a brief. All right, everything's set. Ethan, you and Sarah are on recon tomorrow. We need to map the nearby terrain and find a suitable site for the main research base. Understood, Captain, Sarah responded. We'll take the rover out at first light. That evening, as the sun set, casting a violet hue across the land, the team assembled outside the makeshift camp, sharing a meal provided by their compact food processors. Ethan couldn't help but feel a bond forming, not just with the crew, but with Zoria itself. As they laughed and planned for the days ahead, the alien landscape around them seemed a little less foreign. Tomorrow's a big day, Captain Leary said as they wrapped up. Rest up, team. Zoria awaits. Ethan retired to his tent, his mind alive with possibilities. He knew the real work would begin at dawn, but for now, he lay back, listening to the strange, melodic sounds of the alien night, the manual's advice a distant echo in his busy mind. Ethan and Dr. Sarah Henley were up at first light, their mission to scout the terrain and identify a potential site for their main research base. As they loaded their equipment into the rover, the cool, crisp air of Zoloria's morning brushed against their suits. Ready for a little adventure, Sarah? Ethan asked, his eyes scanning the horizon. Always, Sarah replied with a grin. Let's find our new home. The rover kicked up clouds of silver dust as they traversed the alien landscape. The terrain was a mix of flatlands and gentle hills, with scattered outcroppings of strange, twisted rock formations. Look at the stratification on those rocks, Sarah pointed out, her voice filled with excitement. Zoloria's geological history might be more complex than we thought. Ethan nodded, making a mental note to collect samples on their way back. They continued their journey, each hill and valley bringing new wonders. It was during one of these explorations, near a series of low bluffs, that they spotted something, or rather, someone. Sarah, do you see that? Ethan slowed the rover, squinting against the bright light. Ahead of them, a figure stood, a tall, slender being, its skin shimmering with a metallic sheen, reflecting Zoloria's twin suns. The alien watched them approach, seemingly unafraid. Ethan stopped the rover a safe distance away. Hello, he called out, his voice transmitted through the rover's speakers. We come in peace. The alien tilted its head, studying them, then responded in a series of musical tones that resonated through the air. Do you understand what it's saying? Ethan asked Sarah, who shook her head in awe. No, but I'm recording it. We can analyze the speech patterns later. Taking a cautious step forward, Ethan repeated his greeting, gesturing to show they meant no harm. The alien mimicked his gesture, then slowly approached. My name is Ethan, he said, pointing to himself. Ethan. The alien touched its chest and emitted a soft, harmonious sound. Ava. Ava, Ethan repeated, smiling behind his helmet. Nice to meet you, Ava. Sarah joined him, introducing herself. Ava seemed to understand, her gestures becoming more animated, as if excited by the interaction. Let's try something, Sarah suggested. She pulled out a tablet and sketched a simple diagram of the solar system, showing Earth and Zoria. She pointed to Earth and then to themselves. Ava watched intently, then drew a similar diagram in the dust at her feet, pointing to Zoria and then around her. She's telling us this is her home, Ethan interpreted, his heart racing with the thrill of first contact. For the next few hours, they communicated through drawings and gestures, learning about each other. Ava described her people and their way of life in simple, visual terms. They were peaceful, curious, and deeply connected to their environment. As the suns began to set, Ethan and Sarah knew they had to return to camp. "We should head back," Sarah said reluctantly. "But we'll come back tomorrow, Ava. Can we see you again?" Ava nodded, her expression conveying what seemed like joy. Back at camp, the crew gathered around, listening intently as Ethan and Sarah recounted their encounter. "We've made first contact," Ethan said, his voice filled with awe. "And it was nothing like we expected. It was better." Captain Leary looked around at his team, a sense of pride evident in his voice. "Tomorrow, we go back. Together. Let's see what we can learn from Ava and her people." That night, as Ethan lay in his tent, the manual's advice seemed almost trivial. Real survival, he realized, wasn't just about adapting to the environment, but also connecting with those who call it home. The next morning, the entire crew, led by Captain Marcus Leary, set out to meet Ava, armed with various devices to aid in communication and documentation. The air was filled with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation as they approached the designated meeting spot. As they neared the bluffs, Ava appeared, greeting them with her now familiar melodic tones. "Good morning, Ava," Ethan greeted, stepping forward with a smile. "We brought more friends today." Ava's gaze moved curiously from one crew member to the next, her expression one of gentle scrutiny but evident welcome. "This is Captain Leary," Ethan introduced. "And this is Luca, our engineer, and Mia, our biologist." Each crew member waved, repeating their names. Ava mimicked the gesture, her voice singing their names back to them in her melodic language. Luca, ever the engineer, was keen to jumpstart deeper communication. "Let's set up the translation tech," he suggested, unpacking a device designed to analyze and translate languages based on syntax and frequency analysis. As Luca set up the device, Ethan continued to interact with Ava, pointing to various objects around them and pronouncing their names in English. Ava listened intently, then repeated the sounds with surprising accuracy. "Seems like she's got an ear for languages," Mia observed, jotting notes on her pad. Meanwhile, Luca had the translator ready. "Okay, let's try this," he announced. He spoke into the device. "Hello, Ava. We are happy to meet you." The device processed his words, emitting a series of tones and clicks. Ava tilted her head, listening, then responded in her language. The device crackled and spat out a rough translation. "Happy, meeting good, not perfect, but it's a start." Luca grinned, adjusting the settings. Captain Leary stepped forward, his demeanor official yet friendly. "Ava, we come from Earth. It's very far away. We're here to learn." Ava's response came quickly this time, the translator rendering her musical tones into "learning good." "Ava teach. Ava learn." For the next several hours, the crew and Ava exchanged basic information about their respective cultures. Mia introduced Ava to basic biological concepts, showing her images of Earth's flora and fauna, comparing them to the alien species around them. "See this? This is a tree on Earth. And this," Mia pointed to a similar structure nearby, "seems like your version of a tree." Ava touched the image and then the alien tree, her face lighting up with understanding. "Tree," she repeated, both in her language and then in English. Ethan and Sarah took notes on the interactions, documenting every word, gesture, and response. The exchange was slow but fruitful, with each side growing more comfortable and adept at understanding the other. As the suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of deep purple and orange, Captain Leary called a brief meeting. "Team, we're making progress, but let's be sure to respect our hosts. We're guests on Ava's planet." "Absolutely," Ethan agreed. "Ava, we will come back tomorrow. We have much to learn from each other." Ava nodded, her expression serene. "Ava, wait." Friends return. As they walked back to the camp, Ethan felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They were not only explorers but also diplomats, forging a bond with an alien civilization through patience, technology, and mutual curiosity. "That went better than I ever hoped," Ethan said to the group, who nodded in agreement. "Tomorrow, we dive deeper," Captain Leary decided. "Let's see what other wonders Ava can show us about Zoria." That night, under the stars of an alien world, the crew shared their thoughts and hopes about the days to come, their mission evolving from mere survival and research to something much greater, a genuine exchange of knowledge and friendship. Early the next morning, the crew was eager to continue their burgeoning friendship and collaboration with Ava. As they approached the usual meeting spot, Ava was already there, waiting with what could only be described as excitement. "Good morning, Ava," Ethan called out as they approached. "Ready for another day of learning?" Ava responded with enthusiastic tones, clearly pleased to see them. Captain Leary, who had taken a particular interest in the diplomatic aspects of their mission, stepped forward with a new idea. "Ava, could you show us more of Zoria today? We'd like to understand your world better," he suggested, speaking slowly to aid the translation device. Ava nodded vigorously and gestured for them to follow her. The crew, equipped with various recording devices and scientific instruments, trailed behind as Ava led them through diverse landscapes, each more striking than the last. Their first stop was a vast field dotted with towering structures that resembled flowers, but unlike any flora on Earth. Mia and Luca immediately began examining these structures, taking samples and making observations. "These aren't just plants," Mia explained to Ava through the translator. "They're part of your ecosystem's air purification system, aren't they?" Ava confirmed with a series of sounds, and the device translated, "Air clean, life grow." Fascinated by this revelation, Lucas set up sensors to measure the air quality and the structure's impact on the environment. Meanwhile, Captain Leary and Ethan discussed how these findings could benefit environmental efforts on Earth. "Imagine if we could mimic this process back home," Ethan mused, jotting down notes. As the day progressed, Ava took them to a river with crystalline waters that flowed uphill, defying gravity. Sarah, the geologist, was immediately drawn to this phenomenon. "How is this possible, Ava?" Sarah asked, her curiosity piqued. Ava pointed to several large, smooth stones lining the riverbanks and explained through gestures that these stones possessed properties that influenced the water's flow. "Gravitational anomalies, perhaps?" Sarah speculated, examining the stones with her instruments. "This could revolutionize our understanding of physics." The team was abuzz with excitement, each member engaged in their own analysis while sharing insights and theories. Ava watched, her eyes reflecting pride and a willingness to share her world's secrets. As the suns began to set, painting the sky in brilliant hues, Ava led them to a high overlook. The view was spectacular, providing a panoramic view of Zoloria's diverse landscapes. Ethan stood next to Ava, both taking in the view. "Your world is beautiful, Ava. It's different from Earth, but there's a familiar beauty in its diversity." Ava responded with a melody that the translator couldn't quite capture, but the sentiment, warmth, and shared appreciation was clear. Before heading back to camp, Captain Leary offered his thanks to Ava. "We've learned so much today. Thank you for sharing your world with us." Ava's reply was simple but heartfelt. "Friends learn, friends share." That night back at camp, the crew gathered to discuss the day's discoveries. Each member was animated, talking over each other in their eagerness to share their findings and ideas for further exploration. "We're not just surviving here. We're being given a glimpse into a whole new way of existing with nature," Captain Leary reflected, looking around at his team. "Let's make sure we continue this mission with the respect and curiosity that Ava's shown us." Ethan nodded in agreement, feeling a deep sense of connection not only to his crew but to this alien planet and its inhabitants. "Tomorrow, we explore further. Who knows what other wonders await?" As they retired for the night, the stars overhead were a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the small but significant place they occupied within it. The mission had become more than a journey of discovery. It was a bridge between worlds, built on mutual respect and an earnest desire to understand. The following day, after an intense session of data analysis and cataloging the previous day's discoveries, Captain Leary proposed a change of pace for the crew. "Tonight," he announced, "we're going to take a break. Let's enjoy our first night out under Zoloria's stars. It'll be good for everyone to relax a bit." The team agreed enthusiastically. As evening approached, they prepared a small campsite away from their main base, near a gentle hillside that Ava had shown them, ideal for stargazing. Luca brought out a portable stove, while Mia and Sarah set up the seating area with lightweight, foldable chairs. "Who knew you were such a chef, Luca?" Ethan teased as Luca began heating up a pot of stew he had put together using a mix of their ration ingredients and some safe, edible plants Ava had identified. Luca grinned, stirring the pot. There's a lot you don't know about me, Dr. Kane. Cooking happens to be one of my hidden talents. As twilight descended and the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the sky transformed into a canvas of deep blues and purples, with stars beginning to twinkle into existence. They were unlike any constellations they knew from Earth, and the crew took turns pointing out patterns and making up names for them. Ava, who had joined them for the evening, seemed fascinated by their star-naming game. Ethan explained the concept to her through the translator, and soon she was suggesting names of her own. This one, Ava said, pointing to a bright cluster, in Zolorian, is called Lyria. It means light of the heart. That's beautiful, Sarah responded warmly, writing it down in her notebook. We'll call it the Lyria cluster in our logs. The evening progressed with more stories and shared laughter. Ethan found himself sitting next to Ava, their shoulders almost touching. The proximity was unintentional but comfortable. In the soft glow of the campfire, Ethan felt a connection that went beyond their shared interest in science. Ava, he began tentatively, what do you think of us being here? Does it bother your people? Ava looked at him, her expression thoughtful. No bother. Learn good. Share good, she replied. Ava like Ethan. Friends. Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of happiness. I like you too, Ava. I've learned so much from you. As the fire dwindled to embers, Captain Leary stood up, stretching. I think it's time for us to head back. We've got another big day tomorrow. The crew packed up, but Ethan lingered for a moment, looking at the stars. Ava stood beside him, also staring upward. It's hard to believe how far from home we are, Ethan said softly. Ava, home, she replied, then pointed to the sky, then to him. Ethan, home far. Yes, but tonight, it feels a little closer, Ethan admitted. Ava nodded, and they walked back to camp together in comfortable silence, the stars overhead silently watching their burgeoning friendship. Back at the base, as Ethan prepared for bed, he couldn't help but replay the evening's conversations. The simplicity of Ava's words struck him deeply. In the grand tapestry of the cosmos, their meeting was a mere speck, yet it felt profoundly significant. Tomorrow would bring more work, more discoveries, but for now, Ethan felt a contentment that was as vast as the Zolorian night sky. The mission was more than a scientific endeavor. It was a journey of human connection, reaching across the stars. The next morning brought a shift in the team's routine. Captain Leary announced that they would spend the day compiling their findings into a comprehensive report for Earth. It's crucial that we document everything accurately, he said, calling everyone to the main lab. Ethan, who had become the unofficial chronicler of their experiences, found himself revisiting the guidebook, A Human's Guide to Surviving a Trip to an Alien Planet. He chuckled at its outdated advice, now highlighted by their actual experiences. Hey, Luca, listen to this, Ethan said, reading aloud. Always be wary of local fauna. Unpredictable behavior may pose a threat, and yet, the most dangerous creature we've met is Ava, who's been nothing but friendly and helpful. Luca laughed, adjusting a sensor on his tech vest. Yeah, maybe we should write our own guide. How to make friends on an alien planet. That's not a bad idea, Ethan mused, flipping through the pages. I'll start with Lesson 1. Don't just study the planet, get to know its people. As the crew gathered data and personal accounts, Captain Leary and Ethan worked on integrating Ava's teachings and the Zolorian ecosystem's insights into their report. They wanted to ensure that the unique cultural exchange and environmental findings were highlighted. Captain, I think it's important we stress the peaceful nature of our interactions, Ethan suggested. It could shape future missions. Agreed. Captain Leary nodded. Let's make sure the narrative is clear. This mission has changed from exploration to mutual understanding. Throughout the day, the crew discussed their most significant findings. Sarah brought up the gravity-defying river, while Mia talked about the bioluminescent plants. Luca shared updates on the tech adaptations made possible by observing Zolorian minerals. Each member contributed, weaving a story not just of a foreign world, but of a shared journey. As they worked, Ava sat beside Ethan, curious about the process. Ava, we're telling our world about yours. About us, Ethan explained, showing her the text and images on his screen. Ava looked intrigued and pointed to a picture of herself with the crew, touching the screen gently. Ava, friends, she said, a hint of pride in her voice. Yes, exactly, Ethan smiled. You're a big part of our story here. The suns began to set, casting long shadows across the lab's interior. The crew wrapped up their day's work, feeling a sense of accomplishment. We've done good today, Captain Leary said, looking over the report. Tomorrow, we send this to Earth. They'll see how much we've achieved. That evening, as they shared a meal outside, the atmosphere was light. The crew joked about adding a new chapter to the guidebook each year, chronicling the ongoing adventures and lessons learned on Zoria. Ethan took a moment to observe his friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of the campfire and the twin moons overhead. He felt an immense gratitude for each one of them. Turning to Ava, he said, "Thanks to you. We've all learned so much." Ava responded with her melodious voice. Together learn, together grow. As the night deepened, they continued to share stories and laughter, the bonds of friendship and discovery holding them close. They had come to Zoria as explorers and scientists, but they would leave as so much more. Ambassadors of a new understanding, authors of a guide not just to survival, but to living together in the cosmos. As the mission's end drew near, a sense of melancholy settled over the crew of the interstellar research team. The final day on Zoria dawned clear and bright, the twin suns casting a golden glow over the camp. Ethan stood outside his tent, savoring the alien landscape, now as familiar as the back of his hand. Captain Leary joined him, his face etched with the same bittersweet expression. "It's hard to believe it's time to go," he said, clasping Ethan's shoulder. "It is," Ethan agreed, his eyes scanning the horizon. "I'm going to miss this place. Miss Ava." "Speaking of Ava, have you told her we're leaving today?" the captain asked. "Not yet. I've been dreading that conversation," Ethan admitted. Together, they walked to the meeting spot where Ava usually greeted them each morning. She was there, as expected, her shimmering skin reflecting the morning light. "Ava," Ethan started, struggling to find the right words. "Today is our last day here. We have to return to Earth." Ava tilted her head, her expression turning somber. "Friends leave." "Yes, but we will never forget you or Zoria. What we've learned here will change our world," Ethan explained, hoping his words would offer some comfort. Ava nodded slowly, her voice melodious yet sad. "Change good. But miss friends. We will miss you too. You've taught us so much," Captain Leary added, stepping forward. "Is there anything we can do for you before we leave?" Ava thought for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Tell stories. Tell of Ava, Zoria." "We will," Ethan promised. "And we'll try to come back." The crew spent the morning with Ava, taking a final tour of the areas where they'd made their most significant discoveries. Luca set up a data beacon to continue monitoring the environment remotely, ensuring they would keep learning from Zoria even from afar. As they returned to the ship, Sarah and Mia collected the last of their equipment. "I've never felt so torn about leaving a place," Sarah confessed, securing a container of samples. "Me neither," Mia replied. "It's like we're leaving a piece of ourselves here." Back at the ship, the crew began the somber task of pre-launch checks. Ethan programmed the coordinates for Earth into the navigation system, each click of the keys a stark reminder of the journey's end. Before boarding, Ethan looked back to see Ava standing at a distance, watching them. He walked over to her one last time. "Ava, thank you for everything," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Ava reached out, placing her hand on his. "Ethan, friend, always." Returning to her gesture, Ethan felt a surge of gratitude. "Always," he echoed. With a final wave, Ethan turned and joined the others. The hatch closed behind them, sealing them in for the journey home. As the spacecraft lifted off, Ethan watched Zoria shrink away beneath them, its vast landscapes and glowing skies etching themselves into his memory. Captain Leary, seeing Ethan's reflective mood, offered a reassuring smile. "We've done something remarkable here, Ethan. We'll carry this with us forever." Ethan nodded, knowing the captain was right. They had set out to explore and study, but they were returning with a new understanding, an appreciation for the connection between all beings, no matter how far apart their worlds might be. As the stars began to streak past the viewport, Ethan realized that survival was never merely about adaptation and overcoming challenges. It was about the connections made, the friendships forged, and the unity found in the face of the vast, beautiful unknown. Homeward bound, Ethan whispered, already dreaming of the day they might return.